This is reporting to the cloud. Week 12, R795, and we have a full-on couple hours here today with all of you. It is the last time we'll have me lecturing within this class because I meet one-to-one with people next week, or this week, at some point with you all. 2 weeks from today, we'll have you present your work so far. I may slip in a mini lecture, I don't know, something new. But 2 weeks from now, you'll present your dissertation proposals so far to everyone else, and we'll have some prior guests come back and give you feedback on them. So that'll be good. Again, I'll be meeting with you about your dissertations. I will set up some meetings here at some point so we can get those meetings maybe during break time set up for some of you. I have openings on Saturday and Sunday, Monday morning, Tuesday, and then I go to ERA. So we'll try and do some back-to-back ones maybe on Tuesday before ERA, but I have to pack, so I don't want to do my whole day with the meetings too. So it's going to be ambitious. It'll be ambitious the next few days. I have 3 papers to edit, other things. So welcome. It's great to see everyone here. I have made a playlist of all the prior guests. And I just put the playlist together, and I think I won't send it to you until this week's recordings go in the playlist. So you'll get a sense of that. We'll only need the last week to get in, so you'll have something you can take home with you. I've been giving you a little bits and pieces of my workshop on writing, and I saved the ending part, or at 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 doesn't have much. 9 out of 10 was on motivation for writing your dissertation. And yesterday, Vanessa Johnson wrote me and asked me about motivation for writing your dissertation, exactly the topic of today. So she may be popping in here from R695 at some point and sitting in, because in my response to her email, I had 10 or 11 ideas in there on how to motivate yourself. I thought might as well put it into a PowerPoint for everyone here so you can take that with you. So I'll give you some of my off the cuff words of wisdom from yesterday. Now, this is not something that's been canned for a long time. But many of these 11 ideas I've mentioned already in this class. So, so that's where we're at today. I'll do that. And then I have part 9, as I said, on motivation. And then I have a section I created for the last time I taught this course on how to defend your dissertation and how to revise your dissertation. So you've got to get some very practical tips and ideas about defending, revising, and getting motivated for doing a dissertation. Along the way, we'll hear from my good friend, Trina Paulus here, and Trina will be talking to us about qualitative methods or qualitative tools, digital learning tools, digital qualitative method tools. She's got 3 books on it. She's an alum of IST from 2 decades ago, and so she knows a lot about your program that all of you are in and has become internationally famous. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let me share my screen. We have Christian in here, my advisee. Christian, good to have you from Indianapolis. Let me see if I can. Hello? Say hi, Christian.
Hey there.
So we're going to go out and visit Christian at some point after the semester is over, right, Christian?
Yes. Please do.
Okay, well, we'll do that. Love Indianapolis. Always love coming to Indianapolis. So I was going through here a couple different things. There we go. 10 motivational dissertation and other writing tips for those lacking motivation at the present time. So in yesterday's news, there was a truck that overturned on a narrow highway. And inside this truck were tens of thousands of salmon, Chinook salmon. And they're on the side of the road. And those Chinook salmon were going to die. But they flopped, most of them flopped up and down till they fell into the creek down below and were saved. And that's sort of like your dissertation might feel from time to time. You might feel like you're going to die when you're writing this thing, but you'll be flopping many times, resuscitating yourself and finding safe waters and a safe harbor and safe pasture just along the way. You won't know when that's going to be. You never know where these dead zones are going to exist in your dissertation, but when those dead zones exist, when you lack motivation, you need some inspiration along the way. Maybe these fish, these salmon, can be your inspiration and not die while writing a dissertation, but flop, 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 and they end up in the wrong river. They weren't supposed to be in that river. They're trying to save salmon in a different river, but the narrow passage route that the truck was on in Oregon, he took a turn a little too quickly, and the truck tipped over. Now, some died inside the truck. They didn't escape the truck, and some were naturally crushed, but most thousands, tens of thousands were saved by flopping their way down to the river and jumping in. So my first question to you is, how many of you have had a zero motivation day at some point this month? I definitely have, okay? Someday this month. All right, next question. How many have had a zero motivation day in the last day or two? I'll raise my hand again. And Lena is, and Shang is. Anybody? And okay, I see Christian is, okay. So, you know, we have these days, we have these moments, we have these times where the motivation is lacking. We're just like, what can we do? Like Vanessa wrote me yesterday, what can I do? What can, you know, inspire me? What can get me started? I'm just pacing back and forth. Now, pacing back and forth often is a good thing because you're getting ideas circulating your mind a little bit. Those are called Mozartian writers as opposed to Beethovenians. But I've got 10, 11, 12 maybe ideas for you to think about. And these are ideas I gave to Vanessa yesterday. And I said, okay, what's one simple thing when you feel like nothing's going anywhere? How about you just record your thoughts? How about you just, any thought about anything? Sports, life, family, friends, just record something so you feel like you've done something, right? And then let it gradually go into your research. But you've already got that baseline of ideas down on paper. Doesn't matter what the ideas are, full of stuff. Just like writing, you can write junk on, you know, all sorts of, you know, nonsense syllables and words just to have something on paper so you're not looking at something that's totally invisible to you. Okay, so that's one idea. Just start recording in some kind of recording device or blog, previously blogging, or a piece of paper, or a notebook, somewhere, just record anything that comes to your mind and let it gradually evolve. Don't force anything, just let it come. It's called free writing, free associating, free thinking. The way we can get more ideas is to not constrain ourselves, not to be critical of anything, just write. Okay. Plan for today, plan for tomorrow, perhaps the next day, but no further. Just take it in small steps. Don't think about the big picture. Don't think about the whole dissertation. Don't think about, oh my God, I gotta have this whole thing done. I mean, when I may have told most of you this, when I did my dissertation, I saw 15 doctors the last month of my dissertation, okay? 15, I thank them in my acknowledgements, they can verify that. They gave me all sorts of drugs. I had bursitis in all my shoulders, my knees. I had a son coming from Korea. I was interviewing for a job. I was analyzing data, selling a house, looking for a new house, all within a matter of a month and a half. Okay.
Make me feel better.
Right? So, you know, when people tell me things are, you know, a little rough at times, you know, I tell them the truth of what happened to me. So, and then you cycle back, and I had to say to myself, well, just work on the keystroke data that you've collected first. Don't worry about conclusions. Don't worry about implications. Just analyze the data, get one data set analyzed, and take it one data set at a time. And breaking up that way. You know, think about it that way. Just think about what you're doing today. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow. A little bit beyond it. Don't get hung up on everything else. Next idea that I mentioned to Vanessa was work on the simplest part of what you have to work on. What is to you an easy thing to do? In my old days, my old life, when I started writing the literature review stuff, I was the person, I love doing it. I hate that now. I can do it, but now I'm good at limitations. I'm good at future directions. I'm good at conclusions. You may change, but where you are in your life, you might find writing the method to be the easiest. Most students do because it's where the heart of their dissertation is. They know the method pretty well. It's theirs. There's nobody else owns the method. Everyone can come up with ideas for your conclusions. Everyone can come up with implications, but no one can write the method like you can write the method. Everyone can write your literature review for you. So in my mind, maybe a small chunk of the method section. Maybe it's some tool, the technology you're using. You might look up a bit more about that technology and write a paragraph about the technology in your dissertation, or about the participants, about the subjects and all that. Or do the subjects, write up a paragraph on the subjects, which you're doing in this class, sort of. You're writing these little paragraphs on data analysis plans and all that. That will help you. So start with those simple and work up. And then share with a friend your progress. 2 friends, somebody. Share your progress. You're the bartender. Go over to Lenny's, have a beer, and share your progress with them. I'm going after this and meeting my student Leonardo at 3:30. Well, maybe talk to the bartender about his progress. Share with somebody, you know, what you've done. Christian, I'm sorry you're not down here today. You could join us at Lenny's. Okay. He will, right?
I would absolutely join you.
I know you would. So, you know, just find someone confided. It could be your advisor. It could be your roommate. It could be your sister, your brother. It could be a number of, it doesn't have to be a set person. It could change. One of my students created a blog on his dissertation. So he created a network of friends, and he posts, and he did a simulated school called Sim School. Took him 7 years to dissertate. And so his blog was up there a long time. It's a wonderful dissertation. He had to create the tool and then test it. And he went down to UT Austin to test the in-service ed site teachers, or took, interviewed for jobs in his simulation. So he shared it with everybody, with the world, in his blog. I got feedback with the world. Number 5, set up a very tentative routine, very tentative, to have items to check off. So I always write, what are 3 things, I'm gonna work on today or whatever, on a sheet of paper or pocket, simple things on a sheet of paper, and then check them off. And I was sure, oh, I did that. So yesterday, what did I do? Well, I read Jill's paper, check. Gave her feedback, check, and all that. So it doesn't have to be much, just has to be something substantive, right? So Alicia's joined in here. So one thing you can do is find a very small thing you can do. So yesterday I went to the garage and swept the garage. I could check it off. Doesn't have to necessarily be everything about your dissertation. Do something, most should be on your writing project, but you can have other things mixed in along the way, and so forth, like just simple sweeping the garage or cleaning, your office or whatever. Actually, don't put cleaning the office. That's a longer project, right? Look on Amazon.
I just made the bed.
So what?
Just making the bed in the morning. That's how I got through at my air traffic control school.
After Oliver took care of mine today, I was it's a mess. Find a fancy planner on Amazon that you'll look forward to using every day. So I've got this one here from Sung-hee, and I got this one so this is Korean, this one from Taiwan, but not from Jill. This is from my former visiting scholar Sandy. She sent me last week. So I've got, different countries. Yeah. You can take a look if you want. So find something you feel proud of that you're recording your ideas in. Spend your money. Just, get an inspirational calendar. So I've got 3 inspirational calendars with me. I'll pass them out. So 4. I got 4 with me today. So what I do is on the wall, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 8 on the walls. And every one is open to a different month. Okay, so I can see where the months are from the year. It's very visual. And then the 30th or 31st of the month, I flip to the next page.
Wow.
So I go to the, really cool, really inspirational. If you buy after the 1st of the year, they're cheaper. So don't buy them December, buy them January 15th. You only miss in 15 days, and it's probably going to be half price, right? So this one is beaches with inspirational quotes. And I created, as most of you know, I created my own calendar with inspirational quotes on leadership learning and life this year. But it's a smaller 365. This one's on Thailand.
Cool.
I just talking to people about my former student who I did research with, and she's in Thailand. You want to send me a thing about coming to Thailand. This one's on pathways of beauty in nature. So, you got all sorts of pathways in nature. I'll pass these all around. And the last one is beautiful places from National Geographic, whether it's daisies over mountaintops or, have these. This has been a real something I really use and I love. You know, you might not find it value. Not all 10 are gonna work for you. If one of these is good, well, that's great, you know, and so, and then again, set them up in order of the months. I had 2 on the current month. One in front of me and one to the side. So I stay current as much as I can. Number 9, reach out and listen. For instance, ask several people who have perhaps recently completed their dissertations or proposals for what should be your first steps. Get their advice, and they just finished, or ask them for other project management advice, project planning advice. So reach out to others that you know have finished, or maybe ask your advisor, who's some good people that they have had as an advisee that could give good advice to them. Number 10, look for articles on motivation in the Chronicle of Higher Education. Look for articles on motivation and writing in the Chronicle of Higher Education or Inside Higher Education. Inside Higher Education is free to use. And so, you know, you're limited to so many articles a month, but it's free to use. But I handed out, all of you have an article on writing. And I asked you to try and skim 1 or 2 before class. I'm curious if anyone had a chance to skim 1 or 2 of the articles that we passed around, and both online. Would anyone like to nominate an article that was good, that they found was a good article that they recommend, and maybe one of the ideas in the article? And if not, that's okay. I wasn't expecting it. I will give everyone a couple of minutes to scan an article. Just open up any one and see. I want you to kind of circle 2 or 3 ideas that you can find valuable in those. So I will pause the recording for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes and come back, and we'll write some ideas on. Jill will maybe take the marker and write some of the ideas that we hear on the wall here. So let me pause. Let me stop the sharing, I think, so I can more easily pause this. And then I'm going to hit pause. So we're resuming the recording, and I just want to say that some of you in this room, we had a number of ideas, and we've got on the screen here, the writing for 1 hour a day, or taking 1 day a week to write, or commenting on your paper, or bracketing your paper for things, reminders to you to fix. So always don't interrupt your free flow of thought, get things down on paper if you can, but avoiding perfectionism. At the end, Jill was mentioning this article, Cecil Smith's article, Writers Forum, getting started to write advice for new faculty. And there's an idea in there, don't go to too many conferences. That was my idea. Cecil Smith went to grad school with me. Cecil Smith, he's been the dean at Southern Illinois University lately. He was at West Virginia, where I was, as associate dean there of research. And then he became, he recently was fired as the dean, I think, or has become the provost or something. Anyhow, Cecil wrote this article, and we came up with the conference paper was like 2001 at AERA, the American Education Research Association. I gave him ideas for the AERA paper that he had, and 13 years later, he published it. So I have this could be Smith and Bonk, this paper. But I've got a 1-page handout, actually now a back-to-back handout of my tips for writing. And Jill or Christian need to remind me after class to send that to everyone. You'll see many of the ideas from this paper in my page of writing tips. So, and again, I've got 2 more parts to go through, so I need to move on to the next section. I'll ask Christian to real quickly to summarize what his group had to say, a couple of comments from the remote group.
So we talked about a couple different methods that people were looking at. One of the methods that came out first was mapping out your paper, and different ways to do that to be effective at breaking it down into different pieces. And then also on the opposite end of that coin was keeping the paper in the full picture of the paper in mind. was another way to work on the paper, and that was she was talking about that because of how so many different things that she's working on kind of collide into what her paper is about, and so she's able to hold this concept in its entirety as she's working on things. And then there was another comment at the end that I didn't write down, and my mind is mush.
Anyone else want to jump in for Christian there and add the final comment?
Katie, we were talking about something right at the end.
We talked about writing groups and relying on other people's strengths in the areas that we're weak.
Yeah,
Thanks for
mentorship.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about too, recording sometimes you can't capture your ideas while you're in front of your paper. Sometimes recording what you throughout the day and then coming back and pulling it to your paper later.
Thanks, Ed.
Shishi?
I think one thing I didn't mention in the group, but I want to mention now is even though there's so many different tips, but you need to find the one that actually works for you. For example, we talk about the mapping, like Christian mentioned, like it works for many people, like to have the picture and then slide things down to small pieces, but it doesn't work for me. And also like the writing group is not also something I prefer to do because I need a very quiet writing environment. So I think it's really important for people to try out different ways, and then you figure out what actually works most efficient for you. And for me, I also enjoy like to have some really good colleagues around who can give you honest feedback. So no sugarcoated language, and just tell you what they actually think. That actually helped me to improve so much. Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm going to go back to sharing my slides on that part and see if we can go back to, there we are, tip number 10. And so there are tons of articles in the Chronicle. There's tons of articles inside Higher Ed, the Chronicle of Higher Ed, inside, and other places. I can't believe the number of articles over the past 4 years, and I've put them in Dropbox for everybody. All these I've had now, there's tons more that will give you good writing tips out there. One idea, the 11th idea that I didn't give to Vanessa is putting little motivational notes to yourself on the wall, on your refrigerator, on your garage door, and just pick a note. It's a reminder mirror of what you should do that day, inspirational ideas. Number 12 is what Shishi said. What works or what might work, it will vary for all of us when you have zero motivation, right? So hopefully you got at least one idea that you can use today. Maybe it wasn't brilliant, but you got one idea from that first section. What does the future hold? So, you know, ChatGPT has a guide on the side in this age of AI for our writing partners, giving us writing support, which Alicia mentioned in our group at the end, which Shishi and I are studying, which Belle and I are studying, and other people are studying. There's an article that came out in the conversation at the end of February. Writing is a technology that restructures thought in the AI age. Universities need to teach it, teach writing more. This is something that Renee Hung should read. My advisee there, important article. So it's in there. If you want to grab it, you can read about this article on writing education and what they have to say about good writing, or what good writing is. You know, writing is an engaging act. It's writing as thinking, synthesizing, judging, recognizing credibility of sources. None of those can be done by AI. This is you. This is your brain that's doing that. And it's more important now for those synthesis skills than ever before. Writing restructures our thought. Writing as thinking. I mean, when I graduated, writing as thinking was a big topic in all universities. They created writing across the curriculum courses and writing as thinking courses. I did writing as thinking research. The tools mediate our relationship with the environment, and hopefully augment what we're doing and help us to write more cogent, crisp, and thoughtful kinds of text. So this is just some quotes that were in that article. So if you download this article, I just threw a bunch of these quotes in there of, you know, what these authors were saying, learning to write and writing to learn are two distinct things. So they have writing courses, but that's different from learning to write, right? Writing to learn what you want. Matt talked about this. When he writes, he's learning. When he's writing, he's reading. When he's writing, he's getting new thoughts and he's writing them down. And now AI can provide that augmentative tool and aid for us that we didn't have before, and we can embed them with certain prompts, certain things that we want to have them as an aid. So today, after I'm done in 10 minutes, Trina Paulus will be here to talk about qualitative tools in the writing space to help us to write better. Maybe we can ask her questions about writing and thinking with these qualitative digital tools that are out there. So I'm going to go to the next set of slides. I've got 3 parts, as I said earlier. So let's see if I can find part 2. So that part was something new. So this part, no, we don't want to do this yet. That's going to do last. Let me see if I can find the part 2. Here we go. I think. No, it's going back to that same one. Let's try this again. Okay. Oh, I have to show all windows. That's why. There it is. Sometimes you have too many things open, you don't see the one thing. So this is part 9 of my writing tips advice in here. Gentlemen, I've just completed my novel. It's so good, I'm not even gonna send it to you. Why don't you just come and get it? He's not proud of it at all. And then sometimes we don't feel enough confidence to send it off for review, to send it off to our friends, to send it to our publisher when we're writing a book, you know. How do you get yourself motivated? Now, here's some tips from Christine Tully from Inside Higher Education. Tell yourself not an hour, but 5 minutes. And after those 5 minutes, reward yourself with ice cream or cookies or social media, or after an hour, after 2 hours. You know, save those small things, those easy things for low motivation occasions, which I just mentioned in part 1. You know, some people exercise after they write, before they write. Some people now buy standing desks like I do and write while they stand. Some people buy exercise desks, cycling desks. There's all sorts of things, you know. So she says, have a free pass for no writing once per month. Give yourself a pass from writing once per month. I don't use that. I don't know about that one, but I maybe should. Leave document open all day and write in short bursts. Just leave the document open on your desktop, on your laptop, and then write when you want. And have an accountability coach who you can report to on how the dissertation is going. It might be your advisor. Bracket in text what you have left to do. Post-it notes for what you have left to do, what you might do. Use Trello, the project plan. Trello is a tool where you can set things up month by month of what the project management tool in effect. Read the writing from your previous session so you can start fresh on the new session. So look at what you just completed and then start, you know, when you come back, you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, read what you just completed. You know, highlight sections for more intense work, which what you have, it's really junky. What's maybe something you're not proud of that you have to do better on. So yeah, and look at the reviewer comments and mark them as 1, 2, 3, easy things, middle, moderate things, and difficult things. But move the piece along, whether you're writing for an hour a day or 750 words a day or 2 pages or 5 pages, or maybe use the Pomodoro method, which I'll get to in a second, or maybe using writing group, or some of the Pomodoro method is a technique some people use where they write for 25 minutes, then they take a break for 5 minutes. They might come back for another 25 minutes, and then take a break for 5 minutes. Some of them get a little timer next to them. So decide on the task to be done, set the timer for 25 minutes. You work until the bell rings, then you take a coffee break, tea break, then you take maybe an extra break and come back and use it, the Pomodoro method again. As Matt said, and as Chen said, obsessing over perfection is not progressing. If you obsess on being perfect all the time, you're not going to get all that much done. But start with a line. To get one day at a time, one line at a time, one paragraph at a time, one piece at a time. Finished is better than perfect. Sometimes Just like reading, you work backwards. Sometimes I read books backwards. I read dissertations backwards from the conclusions and implications back to the method and literature review. Same with your writing. You can write the end of the writing. It doesn't have to go forward. You can sometimes work backwards and forwards. And then celebrate, as I've said many times in here, celebrate what you have done. So, you know, one is better than none. Break things down to meaningful chunks. Leave those obsession periods for sweating it out at the end. When you want to be perfect, wait to the end to have the grammar and syntax and spelling at the end. Then, you know, all that. Get things done. Instead of refining small details, just get it done. Interruptions are going to happen during the day. You know, they happen constantly. So adjust your schedule. I write at night when I'm not interrupted. There's no email coming. There's nobody awake to bother me. No phone calls coming. So I work till 3 a.m. That's how I get my writing done. I work midnight to 3. And that's where most of my writing is done late. Other people, it's early mornings. Other people, it might be right after work. You know, sketch the whole plan of document, as Christian says, the whole visual, but then flesh out which part of that visual do you want to do today. Give it your best shot. The best you can do is your best shot. And then celebrate, give yourself a latte or a tea or a brownie or a cupcake or my chocolate I'm passing around here or whatever. If you get stuck, focus on what you enjoy. What aspect of what you're doing is pleasurable to you, right? And then focus on that. Why are you pursuing this thing anyways? What's the goal? What goal do you have? Who do you want to impress or write towards or impact? So yeah, think about all that. So that's part 2. I got part 3 left in here. These are all short little pieces. I hope I can find part 3 now. I found it many times before, so I'm sure I can find it again. There we go. So some dissertation defense tips and dissertation revision tips. The ayes have it. When you go to defend your dissertation, look at your audience. Don't look at your computer. Don't look at the screen behind you, right? Look at the computer and, you know, make eye contact with your computer. No, I mean, if you're doing a virtual one, make eye contact with people in the room. It's a face-to-face one. I see too many people who pay homage to their slides. Don't treat your slides as God. You should have memorized the slides by then. Good enough. Power of food. Healthy food. Over time, I've seen healthier and healthier food at dissertation defenses. It's okay to have some cookies laying there. You'll eat them later, or someone else will have them later or whatever. But, you know, faculty want to eat healthy. You know, they don't want to go to every dissertation eating junk food. So keep that in mind. Simple things like fresh raspberries. You know, one of those simplest things you can get for people. They don't make any noise when you chew them. In fact, you can get up and grab them. Other things going to make a bunch of noise in the defense, right? So, but raspberries, blueberries, kinds of things. I'm just saying that's a simple thing that you need. Bananas. Don't make any noise. Power of movement. Don't move too much, but do move. Don't be stationary and looking at your computer. You're gonna frighten us if that happens, you know. So make sure that, you know, you're engaging the audience by subtle movements back and forth, you know, walking a little bit closer to someone and then coming back to where you are. But if you're constantly pacing across, running, you know, that's gonna be bothersome for everyone, yourself included. So a little bit of movement, direct eye contact. When someone asks you a question, reply to that person and then pan the rest of the room. Don't just answer the question to that person. Answer the question to everybody in the room. Make sure you make contact with most of the people in the room so you know you're also addressing them, and come back to the person and ask the question as you end the answer, or something like that. Be willing to accept handouts and give them out too. So, you know, you can have a handout for people that summarizes the entire dissertation, well, 1-pager or 2-pager. Students used to create, you know, PDFs of all their slides. I don't see that as much anymore since COVID, but you know, it's nice to have something. But more and more people go to virtual things. But again, to write notes and questions and all that kinds of stuff, it's beneficial if you have a handout for everybody in the room. And then practice your dissertation with an adult in the room, or somebody in the room, or multiple people in the room. When you practice your dissertation, you have to do it over and over again. Get this feedback and then try it again. Don't just give it once and assume you're going to be good enough. Get the feedback and then deliver your practice a second time. maybe a third time, maybe once by yourself, maybe with some other groups, okay? Practice your brain hates you, okay? Because this is your stage, this is your baby that you've been incubating for a year or 2 years or 6 months or some cases 10 years. You know, practice your brain. This is important. This is important. And then close the screen. When you practice, don't look at your screen or put the screen 20 feet in front of you so you can see a little bit of it, some of the words on the screen, but don't read off the screen. Don't look at this constantly. Don't have it. It's not God. Your slides are not God, and don't treat it like God. It's you who know this stuff. You who understands this. And believe me, I fall into the trap too, to try and read the quotes for everybody. You know, but you can read some things. If you do this right, there are things you can read from your slides. You can look back at your slides once in a while, but try not to look back at your slides for every slide. Be a professional. Professionals kind of get a sense of that. So watch TED Talks or something. They're not reading slides. None of them are reading slides. There's a good book called Talk Like TED that is really, teachers would benefit tremendously from that book. There's a lot of tips on how to teach and how to instruct in simple book. Don't assume anything. Don't assume your faculty will show up for your dissertation if you haven't sent them a reminder. Trina she's here now, but one of the students right before Trina was a student, maybe when she was here, Charlie Regaluth was on the advisor, and he didn't show up for the defense because the student forgot to, I don't think he sent him a note about the dissertation. He was trying to hurry and get done and all this. And we had to call Charlie, wake him up and get him in, all that. And it's, so you don't remind people and right before and a couple of days before. Don't assume that they even got a copy. Ask them again if they got a copy. You can invite your friends to the defense. We used to have huge defenses. Now, not so big, but you can invite your friends. They can leave the room when we talk about you. But yeah, they can support you. That's good. That's great. Or invite your friends after. Celebrate. Pre-plan a celebration here. And so those are 10 defense tips. You should also, but real quickly, Trina, I know we want to get to you here. Give me 1 minute, just revisionary tips. If advisors say you should review, your committee says you should do something, say yes. Let me do it. Give them a list of what you're going to do. I had one student last year, the year before, complain about every piece of advice the faculty gave her, didn't want to do any of it, and that wasn't good. So say yes. Sometimes revision has a yellow streak in it. A change has a yellow streak in it. When you make a change, put it in yellow highlights so your advisor knows what you changed, what your committee knows what you changed. So it's not just you. We need to know what's different. Put it in a table. Put it on the table. Have a contract with your committee, and then summarize what you've changed. Or at least the key elements, the key points. And if you need to, find an editor for it. Have someone you pay. A lot of students do pay someone to edit the last version of it, and so forth. Your advisor shouldn't be the editor. I often edit students' work right and left, but you shouldn't count on your advisor to be your editor. And don't start revisions tomorrow. You can do them today, right after the defense, maybe a few hours later. You can do it right away. Don't wait too long, so then it'll sit. It'll be months, and just get started. Oh, I went the wrong way. Write a letter to your committee. This is what I will change. This is how I will change, and this is when I will give it to you. And just lay it out so they agree, and then you know that they agree, and you won't have to be worried about them in the end. So they've asked you to make some changes. Lay it out. What is it you're going to change, and so forth. Form an agreeable agreement of those changes. Make a checklist then, for you and for them, and have plenty of ice cream so you can complete everything along the way, or dilly bars, and then send out thank yous to everybody on the committee. Just be polite. If you're polite and you do what they ask, things will go well. If you practice and you're polite, 2 P words, and then you say thank you, and then celebrate. Whether it's health food or junk food, or cake, PhD finish. So those slides, they're all in Dropbox for you. Those are 3. So I've done 3 parts for you today. Motivation when it's tough, when times are tough, how to get motivated. We had a 2-part on that, and then how to defend a dissertation, and then also how to revise a dissertation. So we've covered a lot of practical things today with you, and I just want to see if there's any comment or thought before we switch over to Trina, or question from either the online students or the ones in the room with me face to face. Ed, are you still with us, Ed? I don't see it. No, Ed didn't like my comment. No, I'm sure he'll be back. He'll be back. Probably an earthquake down in Austin. There's one in New York today. So any comments at all? Christian, you're not even dissertating yet.
One of my mentors here in Indy, when he was going through the dissertation process for his PhD, he forgot that it was the day that it was. And so his advisor, he was working on campus, and his advisor said, "Hey, why don't you come to this meeting?" It's okay. So he came in and they started throwing the questions at him, and he still didn't get it until after the dissertation defense happened. And his advisor, as they they got done talking, all of the other faculty got done talking, came out and said, "Chris, that was the best dissertation defense I have ever seen. What were you doing? Like, how did you come up with that strategy?" He's like, "Oh, that was my defense. Oh." He had all of the information in his head so much. He had gone over it so many times. He was so familiar with the content that it was like dumb questions coming from the faculty, because it's like, of course, you know this, of course, what are you talking about?
But that's the way it should be. At least most of the questions, you should have rehearsed aspects. You're not going to know everything that's going to come your way, but you can have a sense of things. You can also ask for tips about the types of questions that certain faculty tend to ask. We have some faculty that like always methods. They're always going to be the method. I used to be the literature review person, as I said earlier. I'm no longer the lit review person. I see we got Feng Ru here, who probably Trina knows. Feng Ru is a former student at Kent State. She's going to join. I clicked Feng Ru in here briefly. Again, any final other comments? I hope you got a lot out of that today. This is our last face-to-face lecture kind of session. Next week, I'm going to meet everyone one-to-one. With all you in 2 weeks, you'll present your dissertation project so far.